The Last of Us is the first successful video game adaptation ever. No, I did not fact check that, but it feels true, and that's what matters. And when something reaches such a huge level of success, we all know what's going to follow. Copycats! Hello there everyone, my name is Jessie, and today I will be walking you through all of the zombie media that is soon to be gracing all of our screens. But first, let's take a quick minute to discuss why The Last of Us even works in the first place, in my opinion. People have been adapting video games into other forms of media for a very long time, but no one has really seemed to hit the nail on the head quite like The Last of Us has. And I think the reason that this works so well is pretty simple. Craig Mazin, who wrote the show, is a really good writer in general, and he really understood what made the game work in the first place. It was also just a really good choice for an adaptation because the story itself is very rich and deep, and it can carry itself outside of the gameplay. And that just hasn't been the case for a lot of games. So, keeping this in mind, let's talk about our copycat contenders. First up is The Walking Dead. Now I know what you're thinking. Jessie, that's already a show, you dumb bitch. But I'm not talking about that Walking Dead. I'm talking about the Telltale games that are based on the comic books. These are story-based games, and they're really well done, so there's a lot to explore in a potential adaptation. Now, in terms of likelihood, this one is pretty low, because there is already a very successful TV show of the same franchise, and I'm not actually sure what the status is of Telltale games at the moment, but I wanted to bring it up because I think there's an interesting way that you could adapt this. The main selling point of this game is that you get to actually influence the story based on your own choices. Sort of. That was the idea, at least. You do get forced into a lot of really difficult decisions, and I think it adds a lot to the intensity of the whole experience. Now, unfortunately, you can't do that in a TV show or movie. Or can you? You know those live TV musicals that they've been broadcasting on NBC? You know, they had Beauty and the Beast recently, and they did The Grinch and Rocky Horror. Okay, hear me out. What if The Walking Dead was a live production, and whenever it was time to make a big decision in the story, the actors would freeze like they're playing an improv game, and Lee would turn to the camera and say in his best Dora the Explorer voice, "What do you think I should do?" So stupid. Then the audience would call in American Idol style and vote on which decision they liked best. And when the results come in, then the story would proceed in whichever direction won. This is a fantastic idea with no logistical flaws, and I will not be taking feedback at this time. Thank you. Next up, we're talking about another familiar face. Resident Evil. There have been so many Resident Evil adaptations, and pretty much all of them have been a flop. Yet I'm almost certain that there will be more attempts in the future. But why can't anyone seem to get this right? I think that the issue mainly lies within the story and the tone. The story of these games is pretty simple, pretty basic, so if you're going to separate it from the gameplay, you're going to need to fill in a lot of gaps. Most people do this by really digging into the Umbrella Corporation, which is the evil company that made the zombie virus. And to me, the whole evil corporation thing is just boring. I mean, we deal with that every day. These adaptations also seem to lean into a very overly serious and horror kind of tone, which just is not the vibe. Yes, the games are scary, but it's more of a high energy fun kind of scary. Cheap jump scares and quippy one-liners, you know?
Sure you boys didn't just tag along so we could sing Kumbaya together at some Boy Scout bonfire.
So that's my suggestion for any future Resident Evil adaptations. Just focus in a little more on the existing characters and just let Craig Mazin write it. It'll be so much better. However, I do have an additional pitch that I would love to run by you real quick. Picture this. Resident Evil, the musical. Okay, hear me out. What medium best combines the serious with the camp? Think Sweeney Todd, think zombie prom. It's not that weird of an idea. You could have a big opening number called Welcome to Raccoon City. You get to play with a lot of pyrotechnics and stunts. The zombies will have a fun little tap dancing number. And who doesn't want a power ballad from this man? I rest my case. My next draft pick is another zombie video game Project Zomboid. This game is a pretty simple, no-frills, open-world RPG where you just try to survive the zombie apocalypse. There's not really a story, which, as we've discussed, is a major red flag. But they made Battleship the movie, so I'm sure we can come up with something. But the reason I think this could be a really interesting adaptation is because the whole idea of the game is that nobody survives. There really is no end point where you win the game and you're done. You just play until you die and then you start over from scratch with a new character. So working from this premise, you could create a sort of zombie apocalypse version of Skins where you follow one character up until the point that they die and then start over completely with an entirely new character. And there wouldn't be like a set time for each character. Like you could follow one character for a whole season and another one for only 3 episodes. You know, keep the audience on their toes. Again, the likelihood of this one is pretty low. I don't think it's on anyone's radar, but I think it would be pretty cool, and it brings something new to the zombie genre that we haven't seen before. Moving on to non-video game zombie media, let's welcome to the stage Afterlife with Archie. Now, if you don't know what this is, you should go watch my Riverdale video, but in a nutshell, it is a comic series under the Archie umbrella where the apocalypse comes to Riverdale. It's a pretty cool and very eye-catching concept, and I think there's a lot of interesting stuff to play with for an adaptation. I talked about this in my Riverdale video, but Archie as a brand is pretty bland. A generic American town with a generic cast of characters, and you can basically impose whatever you want onto them. It's fanfiction fodder. And now that Riverdale is over, the runway is open for future projects, so why not Afterlife with Archie? Again, I don't think this one's super likely. It's a bit of a deep cut, but we can only hope. Next up is a surprise contender. It's a little novel by the name of Z is for Zombie. If you've never seen New Girl, you might be a bit confused right now, or you might just be confused in general. Allow me to set the stage. Nick Miller is a 30-year-old bartender and aspiring writer who lives in an LA loft with 3 of his friends. His passion project is his zombie novel, but it's not just about zombies. In his own words, it's also a great love story that could be made into a movie. So come on, people, let's make Nick Miller's dreams come true. Now, what do we know about the novel? Well, for one, it's terrible, and it demonstrates a very loose grasp of the English language.
Nick, this is the worst thing I have ever read in my entire life. You misspelled the word rhythm 38 times.
Z is for zombie?
Yeah, Z is for
The
zombie.
zombie novel.
Yeah.
Rhythm is a tough word. Don't feel bad about
Thanks,
that.
man. Did you get to the word search?
Yeah.
I put a word search in the novel. But the joke's on you, there aren't any words in there. So you're just gonna be staring at letters, you idiot.
But hey, when has that ever stopped anyone before? The other thing we know is that this book is essentially Twilight, but with zombies.
Oh, so it's like the Twilight thing where...
It's not like the Twilight
Where
no,
the
it isn't.
vampire
You
falls
don't really
in love with
get
a
it.
regular
You don't
person.
get it.
It's the same thing.
Oh,
Well, no.
really? Is there another guy in Twilight that there's a bit of a love triangle with?
Yes. It's the same
Does
as
Twilight have a wolf in it?
Yes.
It does?
Yes.
Is Twilight in Seattle?
Yes.
Well, then whoever wrote that is smart.
And we can work with that. I'm actually pretty sure that's the plot of Warm Bodies, and I heard that was pretty good, so proof of concept right there. The main hurdle we're going to deal with is making the zombies sexy. Now, Warm Bodies did this by putting a pretty minimal amount of makeup onto Nicholas Hoult, who some may say already has a sort of sexy zombie kind of build. Now, what other actor today might we describe as a sort of sexy zombie? That's right, Timothée Chalamet. He has the worn-out Victorian child kind of look that we're going for here. So that is my casting pick for Z is for Zombie. I have a good feeling about this one. And finally, my broadest prediction. Anything under Wattpad's zombie tag. This is also by far the most likely to come true. We are in the golden era of Wattpad adaptations. Is that what I'm going to call it? I guess so. Wattpad is actively facilitating the publishing of works on their site, which then gets snapped up for movie deals. Surely it's only a matter of time before we get to some of the zombie content on there. I'm talking zombie BTS, zombie Harry Styles, zombie Harry Potter, And also lots of original stories. I'm actually very excited for this because I am very entertained by the alternative names for zombies that people try to come up with, and they are rampant in the fan fiction universe. They're all gonna go something like this. Death used to be final, until one day we came to learn a fate even worse. You could call them zombies, but we just call them Z's. We call them brainiacs on account of they love to eat brains. We call them X's because they only bring trouble. Haha. Welcome to Hell on Earth. I need to make like a Wattpad bingo because I would win. Well, those are my predictions. If any of these come true, somebody owes me money. I don't know who, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Definitely leave me your thoughts in the comments down below. What do you think about The Last of Us if you're watching it? What do you think about my predictions and suggestions? What do you think about zombie media in general? Have you consumed any of this media that I'm talking about? And do you agree or disagree? But yeah, let me know. And if you want to see more from me, definitely subscribe. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.